Alrighty, let's get started. So this will not probably last the entire scheduled time, but I did do some upgrades from the last workshop, and I'm excited to present some of the content from that. So let's just get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, which I'm extremely practiced with now. Okay. So I'm going to start us off with some slides. So this can be a whirlwind tour for if anybody didn't happen to see my talk. So today we're working on certifying hacker knowledge and other kinds of knowledge, and that includes things like this kind of learning that we're seeing going on in this hackerspace or makerspace in Beijing. I'm interested in certifying this kind of knowledge and the kind of learning that goes on in spaces like this, because if you can manage to certify it and it can compete on the same level of legitimacy or even more as grades, then we could actually have people this age like devoting intentional energy to trying to learn in this way, which I think is vastly superior to kind of sermon style, one person in the front, many people in a classroom kind of learning. So that's the objective anyway, but it has to start small and it needs to have some real innovations in it to make it work. I think that's my thesis. So I'm introducing a new learning certification concept as of this conference, which is very exciting for me, called STARDOS, which is the reference-rich decentralized accreditation system, which is a mouthful, but it is, the basic idea is just certification for learning, like the learning you might do in a makerspace, or like penetration testing, learning to do that, or other kinds of hacking, or I don't know, you could just go on and on about many communities that have informal learning that needs to be shared between people who are members that can't go through ordinary channels or for whom the resources don't exist, and they can certify each other and get good certifications that way without going through a centralized system like our central school districts or our college system. So STARDOS certificates are a little different from normal certificates. They're not like transcripts, for example, or grades, where you would have somebody else look at your stuff and create some kind of record for you, like a teacher would make a grade for you. Instead, it's you create your own certifications for your own knowledge, and they are for you. So STARDOS certificates are self-contained proofs of very specific learning made by the learners themselves for themselves. And in this way, they're quite a lot like portfolio items. You could imagine assembling a portfolio that had everything you'd ever learned in it. Of course, that'd be quite overwhelming, and portfolios are an amazing way to apply to various like jobs, for example, often require a portfolio, especially if you're an artist. Works great because you can just flip through someone's art and get a sense for their talent or their preparedness, but many other kinds of evidence don't lend themselves to being reviewed quickly in a portfolio format. So the question is, can we manage to do some kind of taking in a lot of information about a lot of certificates quickly without having to like review and painstakingly look at every single certificate? So we're going to try to use some decentralized methods and some math to simplify that process. So here's a STARDOS certificate. This is the way I'm going to graphically represent them. And you'll notice it, first of all, it's just a document. So this could be a Word document. This one, in this case, happens to be a Dropbox paper document, but it's very much like a Google Doc, any kind of thing where you can enter text and have headings, that sort of thing. You'll notice this sort of cryptic code at the top. The first three characters of this one are 0QD. You'll notice that it's the same on both the left and right. So 0QD is just an abbreviation. And if I say 0QD, it refers to this particular certificate. And the topic of this one is drawing the walk. So I'm just going to open this up to give you a sense of what a certificate looks like in STARDOS. And again, this is just an ordinary document, no special software involved in this. So this has a title and it has a description. Just a short paragraph of why it's important to be able to do something sort of unusual like drawing a walk. I don't know how much we think about this sort of thing unless we cook with walks regularly, but you do need to dry them out carefully or else they will explode in your face and hurt a lot. So yeah, you have to be, it's important learning, and you want to have that knowledge totally down pat before you went to go in and try to cook with a walk, of course. So this is the way that this learner decided to organize her case for knowing how to dry a walk. It's, in this case, just a very simple video, and I think this is a powerful format because it's clear that it was her who did it, and she's doing the explaining. So it's very, I don't think it would be very practical to fake more than even just one or two of these, so much work. It's pretty much instantly verifiable. But again, you don't want to have to look at all of these things. You don't want to have to watch tons and tons of videos. So I'm going to head back over to my presentation here. Okay. So that's what a start off certificate looks like. Those are the basic pieces: title, description, case. And this is how I'm going to represent kind of rating, or a way that you would interact with the certificate to give your amount that you trusted. So this is like a trust input, this little slider where 0 is on the left and full trust or like 100% trust is on the right. And then the trust readout is the thing in the middle. And you can see that these things are they're just linked because, as you trusted more, the trust readout is more. But as we'll see, they aren't necessarily always equal because other things can factor in that might give you more information about the certificate. So this is a group of certificates with a bunch of arrows connecting them. And these arrows are significant. We have on the left 4 certificates that are all about computing knowledge that all lead one to the next. And then on the right, we have a certificate about sharing code. So this sharing code certificate, you basically couldn't possibly share code using the content of the certificate without having general computing knowledge on the left, which is things like changing directories in terminal and stuff like that. So these arrows mean prerequisites. You have to know this thing on the left, 1 UD, before you can know this next thing, 8 ZP. These things are like printing your working directory in terminal, using CD to move around it. For people who are familiar with terminal, it's very, very basic stuff, but you need it before you can share any code. And so this is another certificate, and it as well includes some videos as its evidence. I'm not going to open this one, but you can see that it's basically the same format. Still has a title and a description and a case. This one with some text in the case, interleaved with some videos, which I think is a powerful format for demonstrating learning. And again, this 443, a 3-letter abbreviation or 3-character abbreviation is used to refer to this certificate. Great. So now if I grab this, this trust score on the right, you can see that if I move it all the way up to 100%, all of the prerequisites are also set to 100%. That's what those arrows actually mean, is that if you trust that I do know how to share code, you can infer that I know definitely how to do all the stuff below it in the kind of prerequisite hierarchy. So if I know how to do, if I know how to share code, I just absolutely must have general computing knowledge. And if I trust a certificate, kind of more generally, I have to trust its prerequisites, assuming the prerequisites are correctly specified. But if you can trust that's true, then you don't even need to look at the certificates on the left if you look at the one on the right. Cool. So that's one relationship, prerequisites. This other relationship, there's only 2 different types of arrows that can connect certificates. This is the other one. So we have on the top a Chinese certificate whose name means making curry diced potatoes. And on the bottom, we have an English certificate. And the person on the top, the one on the top is ZSU. And I just want to make sure that it's clear that the top ones are the same and the bottom ones are the same certificate. So a total of 2 certs. So we got ZSU and 2E8. These 2 certificates are by 2 different learners. One of them is an expert Chinese chef, and the other one is learning. And this is an award that's been granted from one certificate to the other, meaning that the certificate that is receiving the award certifies the same or even more knowledge as the one given. Usually just it means the same knowledge. So this arrow, this kind of magenta thick arrow, means an award, and we'll see a few of those showing up later. So this is just kind of working through establishing the visual language that you'll see when I show you a bunch of certificates in a minute. So again, if you change the trust score of this, then you would expect that because these certificates have a relationship between them, that if you change their trust inputs, then their trust readouts will actually be linked together. They're kind of inextricably tied, and giving information about one of them inherently gives information about the other. So similarly, if I taught someone how to cook potatoes, I have to know how to cook potatoes. And similarly, if I trust a certificate, I trust its awarder. Again, if I expect that the relationship represented in that is real, that it actually was an award from a teacher to a student, I have to admit, if the student knows their stuff, that the teacher must know their stuff too. Pretty simple. So the trust goes back up to the teacher from the learner. So this is the strongest possible certificate, which includes both kinds of arrows on both left and right, top and bottom. So it builds on prior knowledge, meaning it's a prerequisite. It's the foundation of later learning, meaning that it is the prerequisite for more later learning. You were taught by master, meaning that you got an award from somebody who was strong with similar certificate, and you taught others. You actually became a master yourself, and you started teaching others and sharing your own knowledge. So if you see this pattern of awards and prerequisites, or even more connections, you can be fairly confident this is a great certificate, perhaps without even opening it. So it may have a good case, but at this point, it hardly even matters because the connections to it are so dense. So we're trying to do this in a decentralized way. We're trying to make certification work for, actually, I just realized that if people are showing up, I need to let them in. One moment. Yes, we have 3. Hey, hello, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Sorry, I was leaving people outside. Thank you for showing up and welcome. So I was just finishing up an explanation of Stardust and why we're doing what we're doing. If the new people who just showed up have questions, please ask them or ask other members of the workshop, and we can get it all straightened out. So so we're trying to do a decentralized model for accreditation between people who already know things, who are teaching other people, and they're getting credit for having taught people because it proves that they're masters. Actually, that's kind of the most powerful proof of learning in Stardust, which is kind of why it gets the most prominent and flashy arrow, this kind of magenta, nice-looking arrow. That's the big one. And the prerequisites are kind of more pedestrian, the normal stuff that you'd expect in a school system. So in the case of a failure, though, it's very important to have accountability in the system to figure out what went wrong. But when you have this decentralized model, there's just so much going on. There's so many possible causes for like where something could have gone wrong. And we know that this is basically the most important problem to solve, because if you have a bunch of kids, pretty much, it could be just a bunch of kids teaching each other, they may or may not actually get this right, and maybe more often not right, especially if they're just learning for the first time. So you have to have some way of like filtering through this enormous amount of information that's just too overwhelming to like figure out what went wrong. So there's so many different paths that you can use to discover the issues that you'd have to investigate to discover the possibilities for issues. But there's also a ton of possibilities for insights. There's just so much information there represented in who has connected to whom and who's taught who. So that's basically the principles behind certifying hacker knowledge with Stardust, which was the subject of my talk that I gave recently. And this workshop is basically me just breaking down exactly what it means to create a certificate, how to put that into practice, and then how to take the certificates that were just made and feed them into the Inference Engine so you can see every part of that broken down and see hopefully how straightforward it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and switch back to normal. Could I just get a word from people who are, gotta allow other people in. If there are people who are sitting around, wait, is there a way I can just let people in? Maybe that's not good. I would like it if people could join and I didn't have to remember to let them in, but oh well. If people have questions, now would be a great time to ask so that I can get things ready, especially people who just showed up. Yeah, all right. I'll consider this to be reasonable, and if people would like more explanation in a minute, I would be happy to provide. So, okay, now I'm going to go just launch right into certifying something, and I wanted to do something really simple for this workshop, and in order to do that and kind of make something that is interesting but still demonstrable in a really short amount of time, I just wanted to do certifying paper airplanes. So this is basically the skill that I'm going to offer right now. And I just want to show you what it is, because I think it's actually kind of interesting. I used to do a lot of origami. I was a person who folded crazy things and was very proud of the folded things I made. Let's see if I can't get this thing to stick. Sorry in advance if this thing falls, it'll be kind of crazy. But anyway, here's a sheet of paper. we can make a paper airplane out of this. That's kind of the objective. And in order to make a paper airplane, you have to know how to fold stuff. So this is going to be me folding this sheet of paper, but like with origami style precision. And so there's actually a little bit more to it than just, you know, flop it over and flatten it. There's some stuff going on. So first of all, you want to line up the edges visually. I know you can't probably see super well what I'm doing, but you have to take my word for it that this is lining up kind of optically, just seeing exactly where the corner is, and you wait until there's not anything on either end of that corner, so the fold goes straight to the corner. You line up this long edge, and you kind of tack the corner down, so that's where the fold has to go now. Then you flatten out to the center of the fold. So now you have these kind of 2 points that geometrically define where the fold is going to go. And then you flatten it like this. And you can even do like an entire half of the fold totally flattened first before you even touch the other side. You'll notice it's like not all the way folded. And then over here, you can line it up again just one more time to make sure that all your geometry is totally perfect. And then kind of push that out to the corner. So I've seen many people fold origamis. Many different people fold almost exactly like this, but most of them I don't think would be able to tell you why or how they learned it. It's almost a practical thing you pick up over time, because otherwise your geometry for your folding kind of drifts, and you have to learn how to make really precise folds. So for the purpose of this workshop, it's actually important to know how to fold paper like that. So what I'm going to do is take this skill and then certify myself in it using like a really straightforward means, which is going to be a single start-off certificate, and then we're going to build on that. So I'm going to go over to my my little workshop wiki, which I've made, and I'm going to put a link in the chat so you all can see what I'm up to. I would encourage people to like have a look at the links and the resources that are in the workshop, especially in the section that is labeled, let's see, it is, I guess it's just full description, but at the bottom of it, underneath the pictures of certificates, there's this whole list of different things that you can use to download and create your own start-off certificates. So I'm going to use one of those, and I'm going to share my screen so you can see exactly what I'm up to. Let's try that again. Marvelous. This looks like it's going fine. Okay. So creation of the first start-off certificate. I'm going to go over here to these resources that are available on this wiki page. Oh, and actually also going to see if anyone showed up. Nope. Okay, great. So I'm going to click on this top link, which I think is a very nice and straightforward way to make a start-off certificate. And it almost includes its instructions right in it. So I'm going to go ahead and create this document. So it says doc created from template, but again, this is just a plain old Dropbox paper document. So I'm going to click this link that appears here. This is a server that I host. It's just, Gretton is me. It's called Gen via DOS tag, and it generates a random string, just like the ones that are the titles of all these certificates. It's not special, but it just happens to be, like, I've edited it to make sure it is truly random. It has a good collection of entropy in it. So it's actually using sysu-random, whereas other things like a Raspberry Pi might actually sometimes output the same random numbers. So it's important. So I kind of get rid of that problem by hosting my server online. It's quite convenient to just have a link I can click, but it's part of the Stardust API to be able to generate a tag like this. So I'm just gonna, that's it, created this tag, and I'm gonna title this thing WS for workshop 2, and then folding paper. So yeah, that's what this looks like. This is, I want to emphasize, this is all one line. So it's got the asterisk character to indicate that this is a start-off tag, followed by these 15 kind of random garbage characters, and then a space, some kind of space. It can't be, for example, this wouldn't work because it wouldn't know where the tag ends, right? So got to be a space, and then some kind of descriptive title for it. Okay, this one has me already filled in on it. This learner identity, you can see if I roll over it, it's just a bunch of links to things that are me, so that you could click them and verify that I'm who I say I am. This is not critical, but I think it strengthens the certificate significantly, so that someone looking at it, even if they don't know you, they can trust that the same face they see in a video, for example, is is definitely the person who made it. And Dropbox has this cool paper. If I put a space after this /date, it'll put in today's date, which is sexy. Okay, so now we have ourselves a description. Let me check. Nope, nobody else. Cool. So we got to make a description. This is folding paper origami style with precision. And with start-off certificates, you want to create evidence and then insert it into your certificate. And that's like super easy these days. You can generally take a video and then have it inside a start-off certificate ready to display within about 5 minutes. And I think that's actually really unique to our era, like even compared to about 5 years ago. I'm just going to grab a couple of videos that I already took earlier. This one is Dana Explains Folding, and the contents of this video, as you'll see, are pretty much exactly what I already did. This is copying the Dropbox link. Okay, cool. So now I have a link copied to my clipboard. If I paste it here, it'll show up with this video that's now embedded, and it's just me. Just earlier today, you can see it's me with my face, and I go through the steps of folding this paper, explaining the same procedure that I just demonstrated for you live. So great, that's how we do this, is you just insert some kind of evidence. Yeah, that's basically it. So I think this description is actually fairly complete. I think I could do a little better job, could add some detail. I could, add some bullet points after this that are maybe a caption on this to explain what it's up to. But honestly, this is a relatively complete description of me knowing how to fold origami style with precision. So I'm just going to call that good. And okay, great. So this I'd say is, pretty good certification for that. Now I want to talk about what do you do to kind of build on this. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. Head over to this slide. Okay, so hopefully y'all can see a white paper. Yeah, cool. So what I'm going to try to set up is this relationship where I'm about to make a certificate that includes this skill as a prerequisite. So there's like it's paper airplane folding. So I have to know how to do this in order to even make the paper airplane in the first place. So that's going to be we're trying to make it so that you don't even have to review the certificate I just made, even though it is pretty strong, that I can save the reviewer some time by creating this prerequisite relationship that will strengthen it. Oh, we got someone in. Hello, and welcome. If you have any questions, you're arriving late, please just interrupt and let me know. If anything's confusing, happy to explain. So hopefully y'all can see this. I'm going to create this. Oops. I'm gonna grab a tool. Here's a marking tool. Great. So I'm gonna make a couple certificates here. This is the one that I just made, and this is about like folding paper in a nice like origami style. So it's like symbolically folding. I'm going to make another certificate here that has that certificate as a prerequisite. So it's going to have this kind of arrow, meaning I have to do this thing before that thing. And this one is going to be about paper airplane folding. So let's go ahead and make this certificate and then set this prerequisite, this paper airplane, or sorry, this paper folding certificate I just made as a prerequisite here. So we're going to follow the exact same pattern that we did before. Oh, actually, I think I'm going to run through and show you what it looks like actually entered into the system first. So I'm going to share my screen again and just enter it in and have it show up in the Stardust Inference Engine, even though we don't have any inference to do over it yet. So let's just do that, and you'll be able to see what it looks like. Go back to my screen here. I can take this N29 is the name of this Workshop 2 folding paper, so I'm going to just remember that. I'm going to export this to a markdown file. Stardust can ingest 2 different types of files at the moment, but I'm anticipating introducing some others. But honestly, between Markdown and docx, which is the other one, almost any document composition software outputs one or the other of those, so usually both. So we're basically fine on that. This has now downloaded. I'm going to head over to my downloads. Download. Okay, so we've got N29 Workshop 2 folding paper. That looks right. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and add that to my growing collection of certificates in this paper airplanes folder. So I'm going to create a new folder, which is Workshop 2. Then I'll take this certificate and pop it in here. And so inside this Workshop 2 folder is just this one file. So now the kind of prototype front end of Stardust, fingers crossed, will recognize that that folder exists. Yep, Workshop 2 now appears here. So I'll say, yes, I want to look at those and view them. And here we have N29, N29. This is the certificate that we just created. And if I open it, you'll see that it parsed it open, got this, the certificate tag, we got the title. Just checking on people. Okay. Tag title, got a description, got the case, and you can see that if I click on this through the video that I just showed you. So this this contains all the information that we were just looking at, and it's all right inside the certificate. Or sorry, inside the Inference Engine. So great. Now you can see it. Now there's no trust readout or trust score because actually I can't do inference over this certificate. It doesn't make any sense to I guess I could infer that its trust score equals its input, but it doesn't really make any sense at all to do that. So I'm going to add a new certificate so that we can do some inference and maybe avoid the amount of information we'd have to review to understand that the certificate is high quality. So let's head over to, I'm going to do the exact same process I did before, which is to go to this wiki page. I'm just going to post it again for people in the chat. If they want to follow along, they're more than welcome to. They can download using any of the links. They can find their own, oops, already there, yeah. See the thing in the chat here. You can follow those and come down to this section of the wiki page, how to prove and assess quality learning, this section here. And you can pick any one of these methods of downloading a certificate to try making your own. So I'm going to walk through how to make the next certificate, the one that builds on the one that we already saw. This, following the same pattern, this is a document created from a template. I'm just going to go through this quickly, go get my tag, put this here. So this is my new random tag. We're going to say Workshop 2, Advanced Paper Airplane. Okay, so the date is going to be the same. This is still me, that's fine, with my learner identity that has some links to indicate that it's me. For this one, now we can switch back to showing you some origami stuff. So the first step of making this paper airplane, which I'm about to make, is I'm not going to show you the entire folding process, but it starts with this fold, and then it starts with another fold that's the exact same in a mural. So without narrating too much, I'm just going to show the process of doing this really precisely. Get it out to this corner here, make sure that that's connected correctly. Looks good. Okay, got that paper fold. Slide this out. Bam. Nice fold. So now we have two different folds. And the next step is this sort of bizarre move to do an origami, which if you've ever done any paper folding, you'll recognize. I'm going to make a water bomb base out of the top of this, which means that you're going to collapse the outside edges, kind of push them in, and sharpen this corner so that it makes a little tent with a very sharp top. And once it's that sharp, you can just push the whole thing down, kind of collapse it like a little taco. Flatten the corner. Line up this edge really carefully with that kind of point, and then this edge carefully with that point. And since we've done all this careful prep work, making these folds extremely precise, I can just smooth it right down, and you can see that these two pieces, I'm not sure if you can actually see in there. Yeah, you can see these two little folded bits, they basically perfectly touch each other because we did so much prep work making the geometry nice. So this, you can see, is already kind of heading toward a paper airplane shape. there's many other steps to make the paper airplane I'm talking about, and it includes this thing because it piles up a lot of paper at the front, gives it some mass that will allow it to sail and stay in the air longer, which is advantageous for paper airplane. So again, I've already created a video, which is me creating that paper airplane, and that's what we're going to use to make this certificate. So I'm going to head back over to my screen share. Cool. All right. So I'm making this advanced paper airplane. Hopefully you can now see. Yes, good. I'm going to go grab the evidence that I already have prepared for that one, which is over here in Cert Materials. So Dana makes a water bomb nose airplane. And again, copy that Dropbox link and head over here and paste in, oops, that was the wrong place. Paste it in the case. And the description here is paper airplane on the advanced side, starting with a water bomb base, 2-layer paper for extra weight at the nose. So something that kind of indicates that I know at least the first one or two things about what I'm talking about. And then again, this video now is pretty much exactly what I just showed you, but it's a bit longer. It's I think it's just like maybe 3 minutes or something in length, maybe 3.5. Oh, it's 5. Anyway, so it's me doing that fold that you just saw, which is up to this point in the video. And then I go on from there, adding some more stuff, and eventually coming out with this pretty little paper airplane. It looks like this. Oops. If I can get it in frame. There we go. That's pretty cute, I think. And this one, I actually learned how to make it from a friend not too long ago, and I can tell you it flies pretty well. This one, as you'll see, didn't fly as well as you might have hoped, but good enough. At least it's clear that I know how to make it. So I'll just get rid of the link. I don't need that. We can just keep this case. So this certificate is almost complete. The last thing we need to do is indicate, yes, this does have a prerequisite. There's we need to indicate that we need to be able to fold paper first. So folding paper. And that's it. And now I'm going to add a little tab and ask Dropbox to put in a reference to a document it already knows about. I could just copy the tag directly in here and it would work. But I'm just going to use Dropbox's cool feature where it says, do you see here, it's already inserting WS2 and then WS2 folding here. If I click that, it'll just insert it. So this is all I need to do to insert a prerequisite, this like kind of text link. And it's nice because it's now hyperlinked too, so I can check that certificate out if I want. And you can see it's the same one that we were making earlier. How are we doing so far? Any questions in the chat? Super cool. Okay, I'm glad. You can look at my infinity screen for a moment here. Yep. Yeah, Dropbox is super good for this. Okay, so now we have this. Again, I'm going to export this to Markdown. Should only take a moment. I'm going to save that file. Go grab it from my downloads and stick it into my Workshop 2 folder, which is full of these new beautiful certificates. So this is, show me my new one. There it is. Pop this in here. So now we have MCG and N29 in the Workshop 2 folder. I'll go ahead and open that up. Fair enough. Okay. So if I just head back to my local host, now you can see in Workshop 2, just certificates appear. We have, you can kind of drag these around and that's entertaining. So we got N29 as a prerequisite to MCG, which I think is what we did. So MCG is this new one, shows Workshop 2 Advanced Paper Airplanes, and it involves this link to the case again. And it lists as a prerequisite now this N29 folding paper. And you can see that's reflected in the graph. Oops, reflected in the graph here. And sure enough, now that they're both here together, I can do inference over this. So I can grab this little trust dude, and you can see that if I review this certificate, which is my paper airplane folding skills, and this is my origami style folding, if I say I'm good at making paper airplanes, put that up to 100%, now I don't even need to look at this certificate because it's as a prerequisite to this one. Conversely, if I haven't looked at this certificate, so it's still at 50%, could go one way or the other, don't know about it. If I were to review this one and find out it's phenomenal, put it up, okay, great. It doesn't actually tell you anything about whether I need or know how to make that particular paper airplane, right? That's still at 50%. In fact, if I set it to 0%, it's actually, there's no possible way I know how to make that paper airplane if I can't do this kind of nice aligned origami technique. So I'm going to put that down, and you can see that even without viewing the certificate, I can already tell it's not going to be well supported. It can't happen. So great, we're gaining a lot more information by looking at these certificates in this context where they share some information between them. So yeah, that's pretty much it for making paper airplanes. These are the two that I wanted to demonstrate. One is a prerequisite to the other. But that doesn't mean we have to stop here. If I show you this little group of certificates, it's 4 certificates. So I want to go through this. You'll notice that this one includes this magenta, pink arrow, and award. So this is the structure here. These 2 certificates, 42U and REH, are both about folding paper airplanes. So the kind of the broader, like the higher level skill. And these 2 are about folding paper. So the lower level skill, the prerequisite. This certificate has issued an award to this certificate, meaning that the person who made this certificate thinks that this certificate certifies equal or better knowledge. Just checking. So I'm going to draw that in, and people who saw this workshop before, they will understand what I'm making. Now I'm viewing this kind of new situation, which is this pretty little paper airplane. It has its own prerequisite, which is its own kind of origami style folding. So that's this relationship. So now I want to add an award from this certificate to that certificate. But there's a catch, and there's something that it's a little bit level of subtlety or detail that didn't make it in my presentation. Can't cover everything. If you want to make an award from one certificate to the other, you have to satisfy that certificate has to satisfy the prerequisites to this certificate. So, and I mean that in a very literal sense. Like there has to be an arrow that goes from this certificate's prerequisite. So whatever it is that is set as a prerequisite, it has to function as a prerequisite for this certificate in order for the award to be valid. So I'm going to draw the award in. That's fine. But this is not enough because the prerequisite for this certificate, which is represented here, it's under the category paper folding, isn't satisfied by this certificate. Instead, it has this other certificate. So instead, what you do is you add a prerequisite like this. So now we can say that this certificate and all of its prerequisites, satisfies all the prerequisites for this certificate, because this one works as either prerequisite for this one or for that one. So it's a lot of words, but this is a kind of important kind of mathematical structure, a triangle in a way that connects these 3 certificates, which is actually where the Inference Engine trust gets its name. It makes these nice triangles that confer trust from one to the next. So I'm going to go ahead and, I don't need that triangle, leave it there. So let's go take a look at what that looks like in the Inference Engine. That's over here. Oh, I'm going to share my screen again. Great. So here's that situation mirrored again. So 42U is the certificate on the left. I can actually organize these similarly to what I was just showing. Great. So these are our paper folding certificates, APH and 40K, and then 42 and grants to REH. And you can see they have this kind of branching prerequisite so that this certificate is accepted as a prerequisite to both other certificates. And if you look at what that actually looks like in this one, which granted the award, it's listed twice, or sorry, there are two different certificates listed under this folding paper prerequisite. So paper folding has two different ways to satisfy it. One of them is the one that was made by the actual person who made this, which happens to be me, and the other one was made by a different person, the one who's receiving the award. So great. That is how you build this structure. And I just want to show you what it looks like to do inference over that. Start off when all the connections are present and they've been defined, they all just kind of get lumped up together and jammed into the inference engine, and then it just crunches numbers over the whole structure. So now you can see some other interesting dynamics. Like if we've said that teaching is like one of the best ways to accumulate trust for your certificates in Stardust. So let's suppose I see this one, which is how to fold a paper airplane. And I know that this person has kind of staked their reputation on being a teacher to this person. This person is accepted, so they've got this I taught you kind of promise. So now if I look at this and I say that's a solid certificate and move it up to 100%, but I haven't seen this one, look, already it's at 90%, even if you know nothing about anything else that's going on here, because it's really, I mean, as we were saying, if you know how to cook potatoes, or if you know how to teach potatoes, you know how to cook potatoes. So if you see a student who knows how to cook potatoes, then the teacher must have known too. And indeed, you can see the same prerequisite relationship. This one, which is the folding paper prereq, has to be at 100% because this is the only way to satisfy this one's prerequisite. So you can see these relationships sort of compound and they all feed into each other, but they all have different relationships. You start to get some kind of wonky sort of nonlinear dynamics where things like change really sharply toward the edges. See how it kind of like has this whoop at the end where it'll overwhelm kind of unlikely evidence in favor of new evidence you've provided. And that's like this highly nonlinear dynamic you're only going to get from doing this inference kind of strictly, precisely mathematically, so that the answers you get out are subtle but correct. So now I want to walk you through the last part of this, which is looking at all the paper airplane certificates from Workshop 1. And these people were very kind, making me a bunch of certificates and uploading them to a server together. And so this is all the stuff that was made in Workshop 1, and I'm super happy with it. So yeah, big shout out, thank you to all those people, in case they're here or they see the recording. So let's have a look at these. Let's see if I can remember a good one. VCX. Oh, that one doesn't have a video. This one does. Who made this one? I don't know. Wasn't me though. So that looks like a paper airplane to me. That's pretty convincing evidence. Okay, so this one, yeah, this will do. So, did I just close this thing again? All right, great. So this 2U3, I believe it has a prerequisite, and it's listed here, NNY. So this is one made by the same person. So let's have a look at NNY. So NNY is the prerequisite listed here, and this one is folding paper the best way possible. Nice. Demonstrate that. Okay, so this person accepted this certificate, which demonstrates folding paper as their prerequisite. So what I'd like to do is, I'm so impressed with this other certificate here, this Q1G? Nope, which one was it? 2U3? Yes, this one. Okay, this 2U3, I want to grant my paper airplane folding certificate, or sorry, grant an award to this certificate. But in order to do so, I have to allow it to satisfy my prerequisites. So this NNY, folding paper the best way possible, I'm going to add two things to my certificate, which is this one, water bomb, which is the one we've been working on, which is, Workshop 2 Advanced Paper Airplane. So I'd like to add an award in this award section to this certificate, which I think is so phenomenal. This 2U3 SPBF. So I'll start by just saying I want to do that and include the whole thing. Okay. So awarded to the certificate, but there's a catch. I can't just do that. I don't satisfy, or say this certificate needs to satisfy my prerequisites. in order for this award to be valid. So I need to expand my prerequisite section to accept this as a prerequisite. So let's go find its prerequisites, which is this one, N and Y. Folding paper the best way possible. Grab that, put it here. So it's not a link, but it's okay. It still has the tag, and the tag is enough to uniquely identify any certificate anywhere. So let me just, I think this should be fine. Now that we have the award and the prerequisite, this is a valid certificate arrangement. So I'm going to go ahead and export this one again as Markdown. And this time I'm going to actually pop open the Markdown file to show you what it looks like, in case people aren't too familiar with Markdown. It's just, well, let's just open it here. I'm going to open it Sublime Text Editor. Got some pretty colors, but it's basically just a text file, and you can see it includes, my title, my learner identity, the description, the case, and these prerequisites. This prerequisite section includes a couple lines, excuse me, about folding paper. And so all the information we were just looking at is included here. So that's plenty. If I go grab that folder, or sorry, that thing I just downloaded, my downloads, I'm going to overwrite the certificate that I already have in my cert materials. Where's this? Oops, not cert materials. Workshop 2. Grab this one, throw it in here. So it'll say, yes, replace this file. Okay, so now we've updated it so that the Inference Engine knows about this version with the new relationships added instead. And now, if I head back over here to the Stardust Inference Engine, hopefully you'll see a familiar pattern. I'm going to now show Workshop 1 certificates and the paper airplanes that I just added for Workshop 2. So let's view both of those. So now you'll see something pretty familiar, hopefully. Yeah, that's a little tangle. I'm going to read through it. It randomly lays itself out a different way each time, which can be a blessing and a curse. It's nice because you can kind of shuffle around so you find a view of it that looks good, but it's can be a bit painful. Well, anyway, you can see that this nice triangle is formed up here. This is 230U, NNY, MCG, and Q1G. Boy, it is just heck bent on making this thing as difficult to read as possible. I'm actually going to just make a subfolder and exclude the ones we don't care about, because I love you, Workshop 1, but this is it's a lot. So the ones we wanted were N and Y, and if anybody remembers, I'm going to go back and get it. Always take notes. N and Y and MCG. Look right. MCG must not be. Anyway, we'll move NY in here and put it in Workshop 2 so we can see it more easily. Okay, great. So we have one part of the relationship here, which is that this certificate, now this is my certificate, which is Workshop 2 Advanced Paper Airplanes, now accepts both of these as prerequisites. Both the Workshop 2 folding paper, which is the one that I just made, and this other one, which is folding paper the best way possible, the prerequisite to the one I wanted to award to. Let's go get the other certificate. The one I awarded to was 2U3. We'll head back over to my file structure over here, paper airplanes, Workshop 1, 2U3, there it is. Now you'll notice this one's actually, that's why my eye skipped it. It's based on a Word document. So I'm going to open this one just to show you what it looks like. It's going to open up in LibreOffice. Any old document editor software will work. I mentioned there's a few different ways, tips, thank you, to make Stardust certificates. This is one way to do it. If I click here, you'll notice this is a heading 1, and this is a heading 1. As long as those things are true, then the software will correctly parse them. And this includes a case, which is a nice image. So that's this whole certificate, and it also includes the NNY prerequisite that we looked at earlier. This one does not exist online, to my knowledge. This one is just a docx file. So just to demonstrate the flexibility of the system, you can use any of a variety of means to compose Stardust certificates. So with that, I'm going to move this one over to workshop 2. And now, if I refresh this, you can see we've got this nice structure, which is the same as the one that I intended to show. So now that these relationships are present, we can do the same style of inference over them that we did in the first place, which is like pretty cool, I think. Yeah, so I think a stronger demo yet would be to start linking like the multiple style, like groups of these certificates together and show you what inference looks like over those. For now, I can at least show you what 2 of them look like at the same time. Oops, I meant to do these 2. Award demo and workshop 2. So these 2 little cute things, they clearly have the same structure. They're isomorphic, and they can both have things done over them at once. So notice if I manipulate this one, it doesn't actually change this one at all. And that's really important. It's really good. Like if these things were about paper airplane folding and these ones were about like heart surgery, you wouldn't want anybody's paper airplane certificates to be somehow affecting these, even if they were made by the same person. So it's really important that like you can silo certificates that are in different categories. You don't want to have, quote, a bad grade or something like that, or the equivalent in Stardust, reflect somehow on the person's character or like their personal trustworthiness for a couple different reasons. And one of them is that if someone's just learning something new and they make some certificates that are less than perfect, you want to give them the opportunity to iterate and think of new things and add to their understanding over time without making it such a high stakes thing that like if they had certificates in other categories that they are expert in, they make something that's less high quality, they get rated low in that in a totally unrelated topic, it somehow affects negatively their other certificates. They don't want that. So we're trying to maintain this kind of, in Stardust, we're trying to judge the actual knowledge understood and not make character judgments about the people who are making the certificates. I think that's a really big break away from the traditional way that we do things, where we kind of categorize people into, you got good grades in high school, that means you're good at stuff, you can use the system well, versus you didn't get good grades in high school, and kind of like reflects somehow on that person's character and their whole worthiness at doing something like going to college. So yeah, just a minor rant on that. But you can see that because these are disconnected, it seems obvious that they should be independent, and in fact, they are. So yeah, this has been pretty fun. I might try to do something a little more ambitious and link these 2 certificate groups together if you're interested in that. But for now, I think oh wow, got lots of stuff in the chat. So let's head over there. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, a little bit about the chat. Like we're trying to figure out this if they're either or and relationships, and like why include the certificate, the prerequisite of the certificate that you're awarding to. Just really trying to hash through that and like figure out why that's necessary.
Okay, yeah, got it. So there's a couple different perspectives on this, I think. Wait, sorry. Oh, you're saying, okay, so Jaguar was just catching me up on what your conversation was about. So hopefully everything is, oh, we got some extra people, that's cool. It's just a repetition of what the discussion was above. I just wanted to respond. I haven't read everything you just said, but I'm hoping that Jaguar's summary was correct. Basically, he's just saying that we have and relationships, we have or relationships between certificates which are possible, and we want to connect them up in these triangles. So we're saying why, right? Like why are we forced to have this accepted as a prerequisite over here? To some extent, it's kind of a design decision. You could say that kind of inherent in the structure of having granted this award from one certificate to the other, you're already inherently saying that this, whatever prerequisite this one has, must work as the prerequisite to this one. So like you could imagine doing that implicitly. But in my mind, that kind of, it starts to get really distant. It's like you you're losing a lot of information that could potentially be used for inference and kind of not including it in the network structure. So I've added that rule, which I think makes relatively intuitive sense to kind of keep things well structured and consistent. And it kind of causes people to organize the types of knowledge that are needed to know their certificate and keep them in a little hierarchy structure. I'm just going to read this. So if I were to follow along with someone else's skills, say with the goal of learning to make a paper airplane, would I need to provide a certificate of myself folding a single piece of paper, or could I inherit that from the existing certificates and only get verification of that prerequisite skill through the certificate, of making the plane itself? That is a great point. It ends up being they both can work. So you're probably wondering, like, why would I bother making all these extra certificates if, like, I can just it's already inherent in the making this airplane certificate. Don't need to like make a special certificate just for that. That's the whole point. You're absolutely right. So the reason that these are organized this way is that supposing you've been teaching a bunch of people who are coming out of Origami Academy how to make these paper airplane certificates, and they're all phenomenal at folding. So you just tell them about it and they're like, okay, I get it. And they fold it perfectly. And you maybe don't quite realize because of your background that it actually takes quite a lot of folding skill to understand your instructions and put them into practice. So if you're only ever seeing these like proficient skilled folders, you wouldn't need to include this prerequisite as a thing. And you would do exactly what you're saying, where it's kind of just like the folding is subsumed as a implicit part of the. I mean, so you could also say there's other prerequisites like having fingers, right? Like you could probably do this without fingers, but having some bodily tools that are required to fold the paper. Sure, you can make a certificate for that too, but you have to draw the line somewhere. So the reason you might include this certificate prerequisite is that in case you get somebody else from a different community that doesn't come out of Origami Academy and doesn't have as much experience folding, you don't necessarily want to, and I hope you're interpreting what I'm saying kind of metaphorically, you don't want to like sit down with them and say, look, this is how you fold a sheet of paper so that it actually maintains its geometric properties. You want to say, please come back when you've learned that, and I would love to tell you all about this thing, but you've got a long way to go, and I'm thrilled to teach you in a minute, but you have to be prepared to receive this knowledge, and I don't want to. It's not my job to get you up to that level before I teach you this new thing. You can do that yourself or learn from other people first. So that is kind of an expediency rule, where if that were happening, I would say, oof, I've been accepting everybody for this, but I really should only be accepting people who really know how to fold origami. So I'm going to go ahead and make my own origami folding prerequisite. And that means that future people who try to ask me, can you teach me, or can you certify me? Can you award me this certificate? Will have to go and like prove that they know how to do this paper folding themselves first. That was a very long explanation. Please let me know if that got anywhere near what you were trying to ask. I'm going to read through some of the previous discussion as well. Oh, does the word need to be indented just to address that quickly? Nope, it doesn't. And I think any amount of indentation has no effect there. Argument seems inconsistent with the displayed backtracking of the percent understanding and skill level. Okay, interesting. You have 100% on the plane making, but don't trust the prerequisites understood. I think I've lost track of exactly which plane making and prerequisite you're talking about. Is it possible for Gavin? I don't know if you have audio. If this could be a faster thing to say out loud, but it's totally fine if you are not comfortable joining audio for whatever reason. Okay. Sure, I can let you back in. Anybody else have some questions in the meantime? I was just curious, did anybody actually follow some of those links and open up and make some certificates? Definitely no pressure to have done so. I hope I've done a reasonable job explaining it. But if you did make one and you sent it to me, I would totally load it right into the system right now and you could see it up here. So if you want to do that, just a reminder that the link for where to find all the resources for making certificates is on this wiki link, which has been in the chat. It's a little higher up.
I made a couple in the workshop one, and I wanted to try doing that kind of trust triangle thing. But I
Yeah,
wasn't sure
okay.
if the person that I award to needs to accept my award because there's nothing there to accept the award.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you've picked up that there's there's two sections related to awards. There's the awarded to section and the award accepted section. Um, yes, start offs in the future, an award is like a two-way street. It's a thing that both people who are involved will say yes to. Um, so when this is actually rolled out and used in a real world setting, yes, I'll need to add the couple lines of code that kind of validate that the same certificate appears in this little handshake in both directions. But actually, right now, I'm just skipping that step because it makes things quite a bit more complicated. A lot more things to get right for demo's sake. So, but yeah, in the future, yes.
Okay, cool. Then I did that awarding, but I didn't see it in your update, so I think it must have parsed wrong or something.
Oh, sorry. Where did you put it?
Okay, I can post the chat.
Sure. Yeah, if you want. I mean, if you just send the tag, I can probably find it. I'm assuming you're talking about a cert.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Great. Cool. Kevin's joining. Welcome back. I think, okay, while we're waiting for Gavin, I think, yeah, as soon as Gavin joins and does audio things, we'll talk. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and add some more prerequisites to some of these certificates because I think it'll be kind of fun. So here's my screen back. So, oh yeah, hi, is this Gavin?
Yes.
Yes, welcome.
So what I was trying to say is that, when you're at the inference screen, if you scroll the percentage trust in the certificate for like actually completing the plane to 100%, then you also say that all the prerequisites have 100%, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So to me, that seems inconsistent with the argument that you also may require a prerequisite certificate to trust that they understand the prerequisite.
Oh, I think I understand what you're saying. Oh, so maybe what you're saying is that you'd expect that if this certificate were to go to 100%, then both of these two would need to be 100.
Oh, I thought it did.
Yeah,
so
see,
I
okay,
had
no.
a fundamental
Yes,
misunderstanding there.
I just want to congratulate you on having such a phenomenal sense of what should and shouldn't happen in the system. Wow, that's super cool. Thank you for caring enough to like really process it. Yeah, so what you're seeing here is maybe slightly counterintuitive, but what we've done is define this prerequisite group, which is this paper folding. We've said that either one of these satisfy that prerequisite. So it doesn't actually mean that if like this certificate has a 100%, it means that both of these definitely are good. It just means that one or the other of them is definitely good.
Right.
And
okay.
so, yeah, cool.
How do you
so
distribute
with that,
those then?
oh,
the reason I assumed you weren't doing that is because I assumed you needed to fold back, backtrack that completely in order to have a consistent way of distributing it between the prerequisites. The backtracked trust.
Yeah, I know you're looking for a consistent way to do it, and I'm trying to parse out if you mean by consistent you mean like fair in a way, or like something that respects the like who made what sort of deal, or if you just mean like kind of mathematically consistent. Because I mean clearly what I have here it's running, so it's mathematically consistent, but maybe you mean kind of the semantic relationship.
Yeah, I would have to mean that, I guess.
Okay, sure. So yeah, maybe if you something that was covered in the talk was if I set this. Oh, let me refresh so my inference engine boots back up again. So if you have this pattern and you set this one high, so it's 100%, now you have to have either one of these to be satisfied. So usually you'd expect that, what is this one? Making master paper airplane. I believe that paper fall. Yeah, this is the one that's the actual prerequisite to this one that was originally listed. So it doesn't really make sense then to have this one like go to 0 and for that to be an acceptable outcome, right? Because you'd expect that that would zero this one out. So yeah, that might be a counterintuitive outcome, and I think it is. However, yeah, I agree that it would be better if it didn't do that. But that would include some identity information in order to keep track of the fact that this one was the original predecessor in a sense to this one. Would like have the identity of this tied to this, but the like one important part of this whole graph setup is that we kind of eschew being tied to identity until the very last minute where you have to say like this is mine, and so you can see a whole cloud of certificates that are kind of nameless that may have content, or like you could figure out who they are for if you like dig into it a bit, but it's just not super easy to see who made what, and you can still do inference over that without kind of dragging these character judgments of who provided what prerequisite, et cetera, into it. So I think this might be a necessary evil that you kind of lose that information. But yeah, I think it's kind of up for debate. Certainly, if this certificate is at 0%, it makes this one 0 because this is the only prerequisite to that, and it doesn't accept any either or relationships. And so that must mean that this one's really high then, because one or the other has to be high in order for this one to be high. So you can kind of sideways infer that that must be good in that case. But I think what you'd find is if you expand this so that it includes a lot more horizontal space, just like a ton more people who are kind of in this and invested in it, and like cross-linked and recross-linked, and people who know how the system works, kind of know what forces are at play, and they're all kind of playing this game, that you'd see, since it does include some truth to it, like it's true that either one or the other of these does have to be filled because it has that kind of truthiness to it. I think you'd find that people play by the rules, even if it doesn't make perfect sense in all cases. That I think remains to be seen, but I guess we'll see.
So one other thing, does the trust in the teacher, like, so as a potential abuse factor, right? If you have teacher or masters, I think they're being called, verifying skill, can it hurt the verified skill if that has a low trust? If the master skill has a low trust?
I think it only hurts it in that it fails to support it in a way, and I guess you can see that here. Like really, all certificates are sort of at a low value unless they're supported, and that can be done pretty succinctly. You can like make some pretty far-ranging moves by just rating a few certificates, but yeah, right. Like this one being 100% already moves this one up quite a lot from a lower value. And so if that's low, then you can imagine, yes, a lot of it. Oh, sorry, right. That's the master not knowing what they're doing. Oh, is that what you meant? Actually, that is what you meant. Yeah, the master. Okay, right. And so you're saying that's an attack vector because.
Well, no, it would only be an attack vector if now you couldn't independently verify the master has verified for this other one. If you can't independently say that one's still good, or another master couldn't say that other one's still good.
Oh, I think I understand. I think that's where the kind of consensual or like both parties are into it nature of the award comes in, or if that situation arose and this person were being affected negatively by that, they could just disconnect this award.
Okay, yeah, that's if it's bidirectional like that, then.
Yeah, the award is directional. It like has an implication that the teacher knows their stuff if the student does, but it doesn't necessarily go the other way around. But yeah, the participation in it is bidirectional. Oh, and you can award both ways. Like you can just send awards so that both certificates accept each other as awardees. And that essentially makes an equivalence class out of them. So now they basically are saying they certify the exact same.
Right.
Yeah, cool.
So one more question, if you
yes, please.
I
mean, we're just freewheeling now.
All right. So you have these multiple prerequisites that act as either or. Is there anything that would prevent having like multiple prerequisite groups for a single skill?
Yeah, I mean, I could just do that for you right here if you wanted to. I can actually. Why don't I do this by showing you part of the certificate group, and hopefully this will be instructive for the person who just joined too. Welcome. So I'm going to show you some of the cooking related certificates, and specifically this kind of absurd level of prerequisite this one particular certificate has. So this one is called diced curried potatoes, which you saw before. And that one is notable because for my presentation, it has this award, lifting the walk. But it's also notable. What, sorry?
We're only seeing the whiteboard. Or at least I'm
no, thank you. Oh my gosh, I managed to avoid doing that so far, but I just gotta make at least one mistake. Okay. How are we doing now?
Looks good.
Okay, amazing. So let's look at cooking. So yeah, thank you. So this is the cooking certificate cloud, and it includes some of the ones from the presentation. And so this 2E8 is the kind of interesting one. I think you're asking about multiple prerequisites and multiple prerequisite groups. So this one's making diced curry potatoes, and it has this. We were talking about it in the presentation because it has this award, but it also has a fascinating prerequisite section. So this one has multiple groups, and they actually fall into two different categories. There are and groups and or groups. And this is, I think, this is kind of the upper extremity of the complexity that my system supports for prerequisites. So you can actually do arbitrarily indented and re-indented, like recursive prerequisites, much like a college transcript. You can say like you must have, one of these three or all of these six kind of thing. Like that's the sort of structure that you can build, and you can have those as deep as you want. The Inference Engine will parse this out by its indentation, and the asterisks and the non-asterisk levels mean different things. So for like kind of power users of the system, people who really want to game it or twist it for all it's worth to like really get themselves very solidly certified, there's like this level of depth of like power user-ness. But I think you can always just do much more straightforward prerequisites. Like let's find one. I think general kitchen site safety. This one here, not 2E8, but this one, 231. 231 is nice because it includes multiple prereq groups like this. So hopefully that just about answers your question. Like this is the washing your hands thoroughly prerequisite group, how to use a peeler prerequisite group, and each one lists just one certificate that it accepts. But if this certificate were to award something to other certificates with prerequisites, they'd have to decide like if that one has three prerequisites from three different groups, okay, which ones of these does it satisfy? Like this, I have a different one here. It's something about turning on a stove. Okay, well then that one would be entered just below here as one of the options in either or for turning on the stove. And I think that kind of helps silo things and keep them organized so that they're related. And now when you try to do horizontal trust transfer between communities with related but not quite exactly the same knowledge, it kind of goes along lines that are semantically linked. You're not trying to say that if you are turning on a stove, then that works equally well as a prerequisite for like washing your hands. If you're trying to infer trust across a gap, you kind of pair them so that the stove ones go together and the washing hands go together. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. That was very helpful.
Sweet. Yeah, no problem. Okay, so I think I'm just gonna, I guess, great. I still have 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna go start kind of just sticking around and like adding some prerequisites and seeing what happens. People are welcome to hang around and ask questions if they want, and they can just watch me kind of work here and add these prerequisites to these various certificates, and as they wish, and then we can have a look at what happens. So I want to try linking together these two certificate groups that we were doing here, these familiar to DAGs, by accepting other prereqs as like possibilities. So let's dig in. Oh yeah, what's up?
I was wondering if like I could link, basically if we can make another trust where I award to 4.2 and then accept the APH prereq. Also, we're only seeing your whiteboard again.
Yeah, I realized that. Okay, putting it up. Okay, so can you say the numbers again?
So basically, I would just stick my kind of pair in the middle between these these two groups. So then I would award to 4.2U and then accept 8PH as a prereq. And then like 2U3 could award to mine.
Yeah, that's totally possible.
Cool.
Yeah, okay, so you said you were here for the previous workshop. Do you have certificate numbers or tags for those?
Oh, right. Yes.
Cool.
They're in workshop 1, community 1. I think they're the only ones in.
I actually took those apart. So do you remember which numbers? I think, was it BKB?
BKB, that's one, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually it would be the number, like the one above that.
This one? The number one. The one that's more recent.
Yep. And
okay,
then
sweet. I'm just gonna delete this one.
The longest flying, I think the one above that. So basically those two right there.
So we're looking at making longest flying. Is that the one you said? 10D?
Yep.
Okay, sweet. Let's grab those. Put them over here in workshop 2. Actually, let's make another folder so you can select them. So this is make a new folder. Connecting more trusses. I'll put them here. So let's go make sure that those are working. I recall these ones worked fine.
They aren't referencing the new.
So all they have to do is reference themselves.
Okay.
Or cool. Yeah, looks great. BKB to 10D.
Yep.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, and actually, just for heck's sake, this is okay. You got a case in bulleted list style, and you have a case here which is a Dropbox video.
Yep, that's me.
This is paper folding. Nice. Yep, looks right to me. All right, so let's head back and get these connected. So I'm just going to basically follow your lead. What you said you wanted to do was connect it up so that, first of all, we're going to go edit these certificates. I'm going to edit them raw in the folder versus making you export again. So connecting more trusses. 10D is the later one, right?
Yep, that's the paper airplane.
Right, and you said that you wanted to award it.
Yeah, I actually already awarded it to someone from the workshop 1, but in this case, let's award it to the 4.2U cert.
Okay. So let me get 4.2U. I don't know its full thing, so I'm going to grab there it is.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's head back over to our editor. So you gave it,
Oh, I guess it didn't update the update then.
Okay, that's fine. So that makes things simpler, I guess. So I'll add this here, star 42UN, and I don't remember, whatever, we can just leave it at that. I think this one's paper, oh, sorry, airplanes.
Yeah.
Yep, cool. So we can save that, or not quite. We need to add a prerequisite. So you're going to expand your prerequisite section by accepting its prerequisite, right?
Yes.
As your own. And I have already lost track of which one that is.
It should be the APH. You just go back to the graph.
APH? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the one. Okay. This will be pretty cool if it works. So now a prerequisite topic. I think you didn't name this one. Or I'm sure you did eventually change it, but this one doesn't seem to have updated. So this is paper folding. Okay, great. So yeah, we should name the prerequisite group correctly. And we'll put this one in here. We have to remember the asterisk because that's what marks it for my system as this. So we'll say paper folding. I wish I had your exact title, but it's fine. So I think this should work. So let's just go check our work to see if it actually went in correctly. We're going to do connecting more trusses, and was it workshop 2? Or no, connecting more trusses in workshop 1. Does this look right? Something went wrong, huh?
Nope. There should be a pink arrow from 10D. I'm actually, this isn't workshop 1, it's actually referencing, I think, like the 42U and 8PH are in different workshops, I think.
Oh, okay. We'll just do all of them then.
Still doesn't reference it.
No, it doesn't seem to, does it?
But it does, it did get prerequisite, I think.
Okay, so now you have N and Y as a prerequisite to like 3 different things now? No.
No.
Seem to have lost track. Is your certificate still parsing? Let's just go check the logs here. This is best way to fold. No. Oh, there's an awful lot of them here. Guess that's a curse and blessing. All right, well, sorry. Let's just do it right. Let's go investigate. So this thing got BKB and 8PH. BKB and 8PH. BKB, and it looks like 8PH is not here. Oh, weird. Oh, is it an award demo by any chance?
I think so.
Okay. There we go. That looks pretty cool.
That's it.
That's correct, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, nice. So we got this little chain of awards going. This is really pretty. Okay, looks like the Inference Engine has no trouble with that. We're moving that up. So yeah, this is now getting toward enough certificates with a rich enough structure that it's kind of like, okay, what should I do? Should I review this one? No, that doesn't seem like a good one. What if I reviewed this? Because it seems pretty low, but if I did it, then it would mean that this one has a satisfied prerequisite. That seems like a good chance. Paper folding by master, we'll look at that. Learn from master, check this as its case. This is actually my certificate, turns out, and I learned from the master. So that's cool. Okay, sweet. That worked great. Now we got to do the other thing, right? Where we connect in the other certificate.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, right. So I think if I'm getting this right, that would mean awarding 2-3U to 10D.
Yes.
Yep. 2-3U's, or sorry, 2U3. Boy, this is okay. And this is the one that I made. Advanced, yeah, workshop 2 advanced. Yep, 2-3U. So we could do it either way. I think that they're all. This is kind of interesting to pick which direction these should all go because they're all the same subject, making a paper airplane, assuming that that's just all one skill. So it's kind of arbitrary which one we decide, but let's just do this one because I think it'll make a cool chain. Making paper fly to U3. That one is from workshop 1. Fairly confident. And let me just make sure there's no one hanging out. Okay, great. So back to workshop 1, 2. Did I not do that right? Oh, maybe I moved it to workshop 2. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So we want to award 2U3 to this other cert, 10D. 10D is cool. And 10D has a prerequisite. Oh, yeah, I guess it has a few different things as prerequisites. This is an interesting conundrum.
One that I made was BKB, and then I
just use BKB then?
The person.
Okay.
Oh,
so I use
BKB. Then 2, 3. Okay, so 2, 3 doesn't have to accept both of the prereqs, just have to do one of them, and it can do the one with the BKB one. Such coded language.
Sorry. You're really breaking up quite a lot. I can't quite hear you, but I think I could probably guess what you're asking. It's like, do I have to accept both of them?
Right.
Yeah. I'd have to think about it. I want to say this is an exciting time for Stardust because, this is the first time at a big conference like this where I've been able to get enough certificates together in one place to really reason through exactly what will happen. So maybe the honest answer is I'm not sure, but let's just accept the one that we're supposed to, because this is definitely necessary. So let's grab the tag for BKB.
Cool.
I think it's kind of exciting. Oh, that's weird. It doesn't have any. It didn't have a prereq group name. Anyway. I guess apparently it parsed just fine. Oh, actually, I know why it did. Yeah, it just treated it as an OR group, which is fine because there's only one certificate in it. So an AND group is the same as an OR group when there's only one certificate. Great, so folding paper, and then we'll say this one is just more folding paper, whatever. I don't know the exact title, but so save that and head back over here to trust / the trust front end. Refresh that. Hey, this is looking great. Oh, that's beautiful.
Wow.
I love it. Oh, thank you. This is an amazing idea. Okay, well that's gorgeous. Look at this. That's fun. All right, so if we take this one, hey, the Inference Engine is doing fine. Seems to be handling that pretty snappily. So we put this one up to 100%. It has this kind of cascading effect down here, but it doesn't set everybody to 100%. This is like just mess around with it time. So I guess this is already 100. It doesn't gain anything from any other relationships. Oh, weird. Alrighty. Oh, those ones aren't connected to anything. Cool stuff. All right, well, I will get a huge kick out of playing around with these certificates and making sure that their relationships make sense semantically. But this is neat, this is just really neat. Also, all the size of these circles represent how much you should trust them. I don't think I ever said that, but once you start using the Inference Engine, they turn white and start changing size. So that's, I don't know, vaguely useful, but a little bit hard to parse visually. But yeah, those sure are trusses, right? Those seem to work.
I don't have a great, intuitive sense right now for how this handles. You said you could do bidirectional awards.
Yeah.
Which seems fairly equivalent to like a loop in the graph also. And I'm not entirely sure how these numbers behave when you're updating them with loops or bidirectional awards.
Yeah, I can tell you that the prerequisites are required by algorithmic constraint to be a DAG, directed acyclic graphs and no loops, which hopefully makes sense. But actually the awards can be as cyclic or dense as you want. An award refers to the relationship. The awarded certificate covers at least as much knowledge or certifies at least as much knowledge as the awarding certificate. So if you do them in both directions, it just means if and only if, like these are the same. I think I've never had so many certificates to play with that are on the same topic that I've actually done this, but I kind of just want to try it. So like what would happen if we started like inter-awarding here? This may break my Inference Engine. What? Sorry?
Whiteboard. You're at the whiteboard again.
Oh no, why do I do this to myself? Okay. Okay, now we got my screen. Great. So let's just try something like what the end of this chain is REH. I'm just going to try awarding REH back to 42U. Let's go. REH is from which one? How to Fold a Paper Airplane, which I believe is from the original group. Yep. We want to award it back to 42U, which is, this is the full tag. Boy, if I can find it. There we go. So we're awarding to this. Done. Don't actually need to put anything after it. That should look fine. Sweet. Let's go refresh it. Oh. Oh yeah, look at that. Cool. We got ourselves a little double award here. Now we'll try sending it to the Inference Engine and see if it responds. Hey, nice. Okay. This is very exciting. Oh my gosh, look at how they track each other. They're not exactly aligned, but they do clearly follow like an. Oh, they're totally doing an if and only if, aren't they?
Well.
It's like if this one's at 100, means that that one's high. So the awards in this, as currently implemented, the awards have a gentler kind of strength parameter almost than the prerequisites. Prerequisites are just like you have to have it. Inference goes lightning strike. We've seen those are a little mushier because who knows. I've had math, but I also learned the places. So I'm a math teacher, but not like 100. Like these are now sort of mushily tied with an if and only if relationship, which I think is pretty cool. Now I want to go award everything to everything, create this crazy meshwork and but anyway, this seems like it's going great. I think I'll probably just go ahead and conclude my workshop there because it's 10:05 and let people go sleep, or if they're just starting their days, welcome to the day. But yeah, I think that just about covers it. So stick around and ask questions, talk if you want. But that's Stardust. That's how you use it.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.